is just going to share with you something the Father's been teaching me, been working on me about, been trying to get me to understand. But first, I need to give you some background. Way back when we were back in Numbers and was looking at the Torah portion about Balaam, something hit me as I was reading through and kind of prepared and getting things ready that week, was Balaam's first two oracles, looking at what he said. And then the Spirit of Yahweh came on him, and his next oracles were different. He was still speaking, he was still, at least in Balak's eyes, doing the same thing, but his words were different. And so God kind of started me on this little journey. He said, what is it like? What does it mean to have the Spirit, or to be in the Spirit, or walking in the Spirit, or whatever term you want to use? And so I started looking through, took the word ruach, which is the Hebrew that's translated spirit, or breath, or wind, or several other things, and just started looking at every reference through the Old Testament. And got through all that and kind of went back and massaged a little bit of it, and started with the New Testament, because there's a lot of spirit there too, and looked at pneuma, which is the Greek that's translated as spirit in the New Testament, and was just going through, just making references, and got to a verse, and which we'll look at in a little while in Luke, that God just stopped me dead in my tracks what I was doing. And I haven't gotten back to that since, because I've been spending about 3 weeks working on something totally different related to that verse in Luke. And it's all about spirit. And when I read the verse, all of a sudden a bunch of tumblers kind of clicked into place, and some loose threads sort of tied up in my mind. You guys may have this all figured out, but this was new to me. And like I said a little earlier, my plan was to that was going to be a personal study that I would share sometime somewhere when the opportunity presented itself. Well, Genesis 2:7, this is a pretty good opportunity, right? The Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. That is, I want to say the opposite. That's the beginning of the verse that I looked at in Luke, which, like I say, we'll look at in a little while. No, I won't keep you in suspense. I'll read it real quick. We'll come back to it. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense why I think this is a good place. I'm just rambling on otherwise. The story of Jairus' daughter. She's sick. He says, come help heal my daughter, right? He goes. On the way, a woman with the issue of blood touched his cloak, and she was healed. He got to the house of Jairus. When he arrived at the house of Jairus, he did not let anyone go in with him except Peter, John, and James, the child's father and mother. Meanwhile, all the people were wailing and mourning for her. Stop wailing, Yeshua said. She is not dead, but asleep. They laughed at him, knowing that she was dead. But he took her by the hand and said, my child, get up. Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. Then Yeshua told them to give her something to eat. Her parents were astonished, but he ordered them not to tell anyone what had happened. Her spirit returned, and at once she stood up. That verse stopped me cold in what I was doing, and took me on a completely different tack. It ties to this, and I don't know how long this will be. This could be 20 minutes, this could be an hour, this could be 2, we'll see. And I really like to start looking, what does that mean? Her spirit returned, and she got up, as it relates to the whole rest of the book. Because what we just listened to is the beginning. The garden, the fall, the expulsion, and everything after that is trying to get back. Would you agree? Mm-hmm. And that's our goal, to get back. How do we get back? Good question. 40,000 different ways to know how to get back. So, but this verse jumped into my head thinking about her spirit return, because looking at some other ones, this is going to work. Way over here. Maybe. Oh, you know what? Helps when you put the little doodad in.
I need some batteries.
It won't work very well at all without the